Brian enjoyed them. I wish we could do public participation after we honor our guests. I said, I wish we could do public participation after we honor our guests. And this is all we had for public participation? I am shocked, Paul. Lynn, have you seen any public officials? We didn't have any sign in. Valencia Stovall, that's the only thing.
Valencia Stovall.
That's it. Give that to Marion
And
Lowe's.
if you notice, we are following the new protocols from the chief. They're speaking from the microphone behind the doors. They're
That's
not
fine.
in the area.
That's fine.
I just wanted to put that out.
I'm just fine. I just don't care.
I didn't want to talk about it.
Are we ready? Who else? Nobody except Charlton. Michael. Charlton's not here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The August 4th meeting of the Clayton County Board of Education is called to order. Would you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Board members, in accordance with Board Policy BH, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearance of such conflicts. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of such conflict with respect to any matter scheduled to come before the board at this meeting or appearing on our proposed agenda? If so, please identify the conflict or appearance of conflict and refrain from participation in the matter involved. And seeing none, we'll proceed with our agenda. This is a board meeting, so we do have public participation this evening. So I'll read the guide rules for that for you. In order to provide a professional and courteous forum for citizens to bring concerns and issues before the Clayton County Board of Education, we ask that all speakers be aware of the following guidelines. All Clayton County Board of Education meetings are video and audio taped in order to ensure fairness and accuracy. Board members will not respond at this meeting to comments from speakers. However, the board chair may choose to offer comment as appropriate. Issues requiring possible action by the board may be added to the future agenda. Issues that may need to be addressed by the school system administration will be duly noted. Abusive language and/or personal attacks on board members, school system employees, or other citizens will not be permitted. All speakers must adhere to the district civility policy and other rules as may be necessary. In compliance with state statutes, matters of personnel will not be discussed in public. They will be handled in an executive session of the Board of Education after all administrative channels have been exhausted. Only speakers who sign up for this public participation session will be allowed to speak. We ask that they identify themselves before speaking. Time may not be yielded from one speaker to another. Mr. Greg Curry will be our timekeeper, and each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes. We ask each speaker to adhere to this time limit and step aside when time is called. And I always ask Mr. Curry to give you a 30-second warning before your time runs out. So if he speaks up, that's what he's giving, okay? Our first speaker this evening is Melanie Williams.
Good evening. My name is Melanie Williams. I am a parent. I am a homeowner. I'm a wife, and I'm a mother of this beautiful little girl. Today I took her to school, to the Utopian Academy, and there were chains on the doors. The first thing I want to start with is a quote by Victor Hugo. It says, "People that open the doors of schools close the doors of prison." I chose charter schools because the number 3 school in the country comes from the state of Georgia. It's a charter school. I want an option because I tried the public school system, and the teacher couldn't even say my daughter's name right. It's a simple name, it's Liana. She told me that my daughter daydreamed too much to be bothered with her. Asked her, well, is she misbehaving? No, she just doesn't have time to pay attention to my child. I don't want a political office, I just want my child to be educated, just like you wanted your children to be educated. Some of us can afford private school. My husband and I, however, we're trying to keep a roof over our heads, so we opt to pay our mortgage instead of private school. We've opted to go with Utopian Academy because of the same-sex classrooms in the core classes, the opportunity that a charter school offers by providing different ways to teach, because not everybody learns alike. I found that in the public school systems, every year they took away something. Her last year of public school, she had 3 teachers in 1 month. 3 teachers, 1 month. We all say that we're here for the kids, but we know that working together, we could make a change, but somehow I don't always feel like that. I don't always feel that my elected officials are working on the same team as me to get the job done. Today, when I looked in the back seat and my daughter was crying, and nobody had a real answer as to why my child had to cry just because she couldn't get into school, it reminded me of when African Americans were barred from school, and they cried. They cried. When ex-slaves were asked what they wanted 3 things: the right to vote, which I do, the right to property, which I have, and the right to education, which I want. Liana.
I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning
Why?
because I was excited about the first day of middle school.
And what
But-
happened when you didn't get to do that?
My mom drove me to middle school and I found out that there were chains on the doors. I cried. And then we just went to the mayor's office and we asked her why.
Thank you, sweetheart. We appreciate that. I'm going to do a little recognition of public officials and then announce our next speaker for public participation. We have with us Representative Valencia Stovall. So would you give her a hand? Thank you for coming. And she is our next speaker.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent, and all those in their respective places, and any other fellow legislators or elected officials that are present this evening. I come before the Board this evening in trying to get answers to a bigger pressing issue dealing with Utopian Academy. I've been, over the weekend, and some of you all have received my email, back and forth with dealing with the issue of allowing the school to be able to be operated in the city of Riverdale, at a building that the school system still owns. Then they went back and forth with the city of Riverdale saying that Clayton County Public Schools had some issues with the school system, with Utopian being located in the building. We had a meeting with the city of Riverdale, and I think one of your attorneys was at the meeting as well about what the real issue was. And then the issue came up that the Southern Crescent, which was used to be the DDA, had a lease that was not valid. But even beyond all of that, it still at the end lies in you all's hand as a school board. And when I say that, that means that the master lease, which is the whole issue that's surrounding around Utopian, not being able to go into it, according to the city of Riverdale, about a certificate of inspection. But it still boils back down to a lease that the Clayton County Public Schools signed with the Development Authority, which now has been transferred to Southern Crescent. I even have an email here dated in February the 21st from the superintendent acknowledging that she knew that there was some knowledge about Southern Crescent, looking at changing and altering the lease. And even it comes from one of you all's attorney that even had a handwritten notes on here as far as changing the lease that was originally done, amending it. So when I'm here tonight to ask you all, is very simple. Change the lease, amend the lease, and make it so that Southern Crescent is the master leaseholder and not the Development Authority, because the Development Authority is now Southern Crescent. If the school board, you all decide that this is to do this, then all the other issues with the city of Riverdale and all that will be eliminated. So thank you. And so that's one of the things that I'm asking. You know, why is it that Utopian can't go into that building when Scholars Academy previously was in that building, according to this lease, this particular lease that's in my hand? So that's one of the things, and just go ahead and change the wording with the lease with Southern Crescent to allow so that Utopian, those kids can be educated. Because even though it's a big issue with charter schools in Clayton County, this is one way to be able to show proof to the community, to the state of Georgia, nationally, that you all are in support of charter schools that are not up under the school system. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stovall. Our next speaker is also a public official of sort. That's Ms. Cinnamon Baldwin, and she is the president of the Clayton County NAACP. Ms. Baldwin. Well, gosh, I did the recognition and she's not here. All right. Next speaker is Fred Burkett.
Good evening. My name is Fred Burkett. I'm the principal of Utopian Academy. And I'm here just to ask one question. Why is the Clayton County School Board resisting us using that building to have a school? We have parents who have taken their option of choosing a school where they want their children to be educated. We have proven to them through our information sessions and through our information that we are going to provide their students with their children with a quality education. And my question is, why won't you, as a school board, allow us to be in that building? Next, I've been running charter schools now for 17 years. Just left Hawaii, was there 12 years running schools there, Massachusetts, New York City, and I've never experienced anything like this where we have such resistance to running charter schools. Charter schools have become the new civil rights movement, and we want to allow our parents to give their children the education that they cannot afford. If they had the money, most of these parents, because they're so conscientious about their children's education, they would be in private schools. They don't have the money to do that, or they choose not to do that, but they've making the choice to be at Utopian Academy. We are petitioning you and asking you to allow us to be in that building to provide our students, their children, with a quality education. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Artesius Miller.
Good evening, everyone. I don't feel like I'm a stranger here to the Clayton County Public Schools. I would like to start off by asking all members of the Utopian Academy for the Arts community to please stand up so that you can be recognized. I'm here today because for the last 3 years, we've been working very hard for these people that are behind me and those that could not make it here this evening. These folks stand behind me because they're looking for great educational options through Utopian Academy for the Arts. I think the purpose of both of our organizations is aimed to create great educational options and empower our students, as well as our communities here in Clayton County, Georgia. And Utopian Academy for the Arts has taken that first step. For the last 4 years, this is the moment we've been waiting for, this particular day right here, August 4th, 2014. One of the most discouraging things I could have did as a school's leader is to tell our staff, our parents, that, hey guys, we can't open up our doors. That was very heartfelt for not only our families, but our students, because again, we're placing them in a situation where they're feeling as if somebody is failing them. We don't want that. I'm going to follow the echo I'm going to echo the statements of Representative Stovall. She asked if we could adopt the resolution between the Downtown Development Authority to the Crescent Center for Innovation. Clearly, there has been some conversations between the school board, the superintendent, and representatives of those organizations. And so this is not something new. We're just asking for you to adopt that, because if we say no, then that means that these folks behind me will not have a home. These folks behind me will not have a school. They have already withdrawn themselves from Clayton County Public Schools because they said that they wanted something different for their children. We're not saying that Clayton County Public Schools is not giving them what they need, but they want something different, and that's why you have charter schools. Some of these families don't have the money, the abilities to move into a different district for something different. In Clayton County, we're bringing that through Utopian Academy for the Arts. We only have 3 charter schools, which says we only have 3 options for our community for something better. Again, guys, if we say no to allowing us in the building, and I'm actually begging with you, Superintendent Jackson, I'm begging publicly, because if we say no to allowing this organization to come into this building, then now we're saying no to these families, but more importantly, we're saying no to these kids. And like that young lady that came up with her mom here this afternoon, she says, I cried. I've been looking forward to middle school almost since the time that I started the 5th grade. I pull up to the school this morning, and I can't even get out of the car. I can't even get out of the car because I'm being told that we cannot enter the building. We cannot let our kids be caught up in the midst of these local politics. If we do not stand up and say, look, we are going to bridge a gap together, we're going to close this gap and and build a bridge together, then when are we going to do it? Mr. Burkett said it himself. This is a civil rights issue, you all. Education is something that is equal to all, and we want to start here by showing that, look, Clayton County Public Schools can work with the charter school, and we can start by doing that now. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Our next speaker is Sharon Daniel.
Good evening, board. Good evening, elected officials that are present in the place. My name is Sharon Daniel. I'm the board chair of Utopian Academy for the Arts. I am proud to stand here and say that. It's been a journey. It's been interesting. I am also a former parent of Clayton County School System, over 20 years and counting. And now I decided, hey, it's time for me to make a change. And I'm quite sure with a lot of other parents that's in here in the audience stated the same thing. It's really simple. We've been going through this for a while. Based on a lot of information that's been going on over the past few weeks, past few days, all night, I've been in different meetings and sessions, especially today. And a lot of information came out that I'm quite sure that if you were really aware of it, that you guys could really address it. It's really simple. It's cut and dry. The decision whether or not we can stay in the location that we're in is up to you. It's cut and dry. When you peel back the papers and you look at everything, it's still on your hand. It's in your hands. So I'm asking you, as a former parent that used to have my children here 20 years ago, I went from middle school, elementary school, all the way up to high school. This is my last child. I want to give her something different. I've been through the system. I'm one of them parents, one of them super parents, one of them outstanding parents that did all I could do while my children were in that school, in the school system. Now I'm asking you, it's time for us to really stand up and show Clayton County can work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Daniel. Ms. Daniel was our last speaker, but I think Ms. Baldwin came in, Cinnamon Baldwin. There. Come on up and speak to her. We had gone past your name, but we'll come back.
Thank you so
You're welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. Recently, you all conducted a survey that showed that 2,700 stakeholders voted for a superintendent search of some kind versus 1,007 who said no to a search. In spite of these results, the Board of Education, in a 5-4 vote, ignored the outcome of your own survey and totally discounted the community input. For the past 2 years, the Clayton County NAACP has sought to meet with you board members and the superintendent to express concerns and enter into a partnership to improve the academic success of all of our students. Our calls, emails, letters, and requests have gone unanswered. We have sought to develop a mutual working relationship to no avail. As we have explored our options and voiced our discontent for the many actions and inactions of the board, we have been met with one question: why is the NAACP going after the superintendent? We are not going after the superintendent. Our scope is much broader. The community, as shown in the BOE organizational chart, is at the top. Next, there are you board members, and finally the superintendent. It is you, the elected officials, that we hold accountable first. And it seems that you have put the community in a position to recall several of you in order to raise the bar for our students. The NAACP Education Committee is comprised of an intelligent group of individuals who do their due diligence of all matters of education. We have watched our graduation rates hit bottom, our best and brightest shortchanged, excessive push out to too many students, teachers leaving in droves year after year, and stakeholders locked out of the education process. Are we to accept these realities? Do we turn our heads as our students are not learning? Do we back off as we have been told by people who don't even have children in our schools, nor do they live here? Do we remain silent as the 47% who did not graduate flounder around in our communities, ending up in poverty, prison, or dead? Do we ignore the fact that our high-achieving students are struggling to get into choice universities and colleges of higher learning? Should we allow an elected Board of Education to do as they wish without question? Will this school board work with the NAACP to ensure that we address the issues that are important to all of us? Will you stop shutting out the community and organizations that are willing and capable of raising the bar for all stakeholders? This most recent clandestine ploy, which ignored the results of the superintendent survey, begs the question: what else are you hiding from the public and stakeholders? Rest assured, we will hold all our elected officials accountable. Nothing personal. The NAACP has no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent interests, and we are here ready and waiting to work with you.
Thank you, Ms. Baldwin. That concludes our public participation, and we just so appreciate you coming and talking to us, and we appreciate the manner in which you did that. That means a lot to us. We have a number of board recognitions this evening, and Madam Superintendent, I'm going to ask the full board to come down and assist you with that, if that's okay.
As the board is coming down, I would ask Ebony Chillis, who is our coordinator of career technical and agricultural education, to come forward. I would also ask the principals of the following schools, if they are here with us, from Babb Middle School, from Drew High School, from the Open Campus High School at the Perry Learning Center, and North Clayton High School. I believe Drew High School also in that group. Okay. We're going to have a lot of people up here in just a few moments because we've got some really outstanding young people to celebrate tonight. Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Jackson. Before I begin, I would ask the sponsors of the students that we honor tonight if they would join me over here. And I would ask the students themselves if they would line up along that wall. All students that we will honor tonight. Career and Technical Student Organizations, or CTSOs, are a vital part of career, technical, and agricultural education. CTSOs play an integral role in preparing students to become college and career-ready members of society who hold productive leadership roles in their communities. CTSOs are also committed to the growth of students in all CTAE career pathways. These organizations provide motivation, leadership training, and career development opportunities for students enrolled in CTAE programs in the middle and high schools, enhancing their occupational, employability, and leadership skills through various activities such as conferences, award programs, service projects, and competitive events. Tonight, we honor young people who not only performed on the local arena and on the state level, but in the national stage. These students took their act on the road to San Antonio, Texas, to Nashville, Tennessee, and to Washington, D.C., competing in national CTSO competitive events, and they brought back gold, silver, and bronze. It is my pleasure to introduce each sponsor, and they will come up and they will in turn introduce their students and what they won in and how they won, the level of award they won. I will start with someone who's no stranger to this building and to this room, from Babb Middle School, Lillian Mitchell.
Good evening. Okay, thank you. There were 11 students from Babb Middle School that traveled to San Antonio, Texas this summer to compete in 3 different competitive events. They ranged in grades 6th, 7th, and 8th. So the first student I'd like to recognize is Angelina Thomas. She is a rising 7th grader, and she earned a silver medal in the area of entrepreneurship junior. Junior category is grades 6 through 8. Her event was to develop a business plan to begin her own photography business. So we're so proud of her. Will Angelina's parents please stand and be recognized? Thank you. Thank you. Next, I would like to recognize Sarah and Rebecca Mai. They are also rising 7th graders. Their event was Advocacy Junior. They had to develop a plan and implement it, and their advocacy plan had to do with encouraging parents to be involved in their child's education. They are products of parents being involved in their education throughout their entire life, and they just see the benefits of it. So they worked with individuals at the school and district level to get the word out to parents as to how important that is. As again, Sarah, Rebecca, Mai, will their parents please stand, or any other family members? Okay. My third team is a very large team, and it is a parliamentary procedure team with 8 members. Those individuals are Kenneth Glish, Jada Hedspeth, Vincent Knight, Uriel Martinez, Duwin No, Leonardo Pendalosa, who's not here, T. Pham, and Kimberly Savannah Pham has not arrived yet. These students all were part of a team, so they scored a silver medal at the national competition. We were so proud of them, but we all can truly say this would not have been possible without the support of the Georgia Association of Parliamentarians. There were 6 individuals from the Georgia Association of Parliamentarians who came to our school on a weekly basis for well over a month and tutored our students in parliamentary law and helped them. These individuals are here. 2 of them are here tonight. Carol Davis, will you please stand, and Gloria Kofer. Will the parents of our parliamentary procedure team members please stand? And I would just like to let Clayton County know that the Georgia Association of Parliamentarians have already volunteered to continue to work with us here in Clayton County with our students, and we're so thankful.
I'd like to ask the Lovejoy principal and the CTAE supervisor to please join us up front as well. I missed that school in the list. Next up, I'd like to introduce to the microphone someone, again, who is no stranger to this room, from Charles Drew High School, Margaret June.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Chef June from Charles Drew High School, and this summer we had 2 students to compete on the national level. Before I bring them up, I just want to share a little bit with you. There was an unfortunate incident that happened. One of our students that competed and won on the state level had to leave the state. She is no longer here with us. And because there is a penalty for the team not showing up for the competition, we were in a little bit of a situation. But just because we are who we are, when adversity comes, we rise to the occasion. We are Clayton County. My daughter stepped in 7 days prior to the competition, and they came in 2nd place. I would like to present to you all the team for hospitality, tourism, and recreation, Gabrielle June and Jael Sajaksi. Their project was, their hospitality and tourism and recreation project was on opening a day spa and a cafe. They did an outstanding job. Would the parents of Gabrielle and Jael please stand? In their competition, they came in 2nd place with a silver. They were 1.4 points from being gold 1st place in 7 days.
Next, I'd like to introduce Shajan Shannon from North Clayton High School. Oh, you're going to do that. Well, Lillian, introduce yourself.
Okay. Again, I'm Lillian Mitchell, and Siobhan Shannon from North Clayton is no longer with the district, but she had a student that advanced from state to national, and the 3 of us that attended the national conference had the joy of working with her student, David Soar. David competed in Recycle and Redesign Senior. He scored a perfect 100, earned a gold medal. We want to re-emphasize a perfect 100 gold medal, and if David's family is here tonight, we'd like to for them to stand as well.
This next one is a somewhat historic situation in that it is the very first individual, if I'm not mistaken, in CTAE from the Perry Learning Center to make it into national competition. So this is historic and it's a big night. I'm very pleased to introduce April Moore from the Perry Learning Center.
Hi everyone, how are you? Hello everyone. Hi, okay. It's such a pleasure to be here, but I want to say something about David before we move on because the 3 of us all advised him when we went to San Antonio. David created a grill out of a Coke can, a grill that actually works. out of a Coca-Cola can. That was his recycle and redesign. Like, it was amazing. But David is an excellent young man. My name again is April Moore. I teach early childhood education. I am the only early childhood education program in the county. I had the pleasure of advising a lovely young lady, Loveline DeVerge. She competed at the national level, again, our first time competing for Perry Learning Center. She competed in leadership. And we have the amazing Principal of the Year, Dr. Young, as an example of what a leader is, and then, of course, myself. So she was able to pull that off and win a gold medal. So I want to say I'm so proud of Loveline.
And our final honor to be presented tonight, I introduce from Lovejoy High School, Lori Ashford Stringer.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very proud to introduce to you Joshua Ojo Osagi. He came in third place in nationals this year. This is Lovejoy's first time, the first time FBLA has participated in nationals and won. We have participated in nationals, but we never won until this year. So thank you, Joshua, for participating in FBLA. Also, Joshua is a rising junior. He's also my first vice president in FBLA this year. Joshua came in at state level. He came in second place, and that gave him the opportunity to go to nationals. I would like for the parents, friends of Joshua to please stand and congratulate him as well. I would also like to thank my right-hand man, Mr. Simmons, for his support also this year.
And before we wrap up, I need to introduce Chef June again because she has a very special individual to introduce.
This year, the Georgia FCCLA has again elected Stephanie Diggs as our Vice President of Programs. This is Stephanie's second year being a state officer. The Georgia FCCLA chapter now has a membership of 33,000 students, and Stephanie is Vice President, again for the second year.
We do invite parents and friends to take as many photos as they want for the next few moments. We're doing pictures now. Our guys upstairs. I guess it's kind of gathered toward the center. Yeah. Just keep going. Just tell them to keep walking down a little bit. Make a 2 rows. We're arranging everyone for photographs right now. Madam Chair, that concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Let's brag. I think that that presentation clearly exemplifies why we're proud of Clayton County. We've got some wonderful, wonderful kids and some wonderful teachers and administrators doing some great things. I believe Ms. Jackson would like to make a statement about that.
I just want to thank all of our teachers and administrators, and particularly the board, because we supported our students in their national pursuits. And we want to make sure that our parents and all know how much we appreciate their efforts as well, and that we thank the board for having the foresight of making sure that in our budget we support our students.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. I believe that we have recognized the public officials that we are aware that are here, so we'll move on down to executive session. Board members, we do have need of an executive session this evening. We've got several personnel issues that you received in your packet. In addition, we need to talk about permitted real estate matters. So for those two things, we need to go into executive session, and I need a motion for us to do so. Dr. Anderson?
So moved, Madam Chair.
And Ms. Baker?
I second.
And board members, if you would vote your pleasure.
I have a question before we vote. What was the second thing you said?
Permitted real estate issues.
Okay, would legal matters be a part of that as well? Or can I add legal matters?
You can add legal matters. We're not aware of a legal matter, but we certainly can add it.
I would
Yes,
like
ma'am.
to add legal matters to
Okay,
that.
all right, we can do that. So, Dr. Anderson, will you revise your motion, or will you be willing to revise your motion to include legal matters? And Ms. Baker, will you revise your second? Good. So
Yes.
now, board members, it is time to vote. And it is unanimous. We're going into executive session, and we'll be back just as soon as we can be. The board is back from executive session where we discussed personnel and permitted real estate matters. We did not discuss legal issues. That did not have to happen, so we're okay with that. I'm going to go ahead with a little bit of the agenda while the folks in the back are writing up stuff, but we want to go ahead and tell you what we've discussed in executive session, so you don't have to wait a long time. It's okay, so I'm trying to get it to you as soon as I can. But while we're waiting, we're going to go ahead with the announcement. So, Madam Vice Chair.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, district administrators, and citizens of Clayton County. Here are the announcements for the month of August. August is home to National Child Vision and Learning Month and to National Immunization Month. The district will hold meet and greet sessions on Wednesday, August 6th. Meet and greet sessions provide parents, guardians, and opportunities to drop by schools, meet teachers and administrators, and receive 2014-2015 information. The schedule for meet and greet sessions are as follows. Elementary schools from 1 to 3 p.m., middle schools from 3 to 5 p.m., and high schools from 5 to 7 o'clock p.m. Clayton County Chairman Jeff Turner is joining with the court-appointed Special Advocates Organization to hold a fitness 5K run walk on Saturday, August 23rd at the Riverdale Town Center. Registration will start at 7 o'clock a.m. The August board work session will be held Monday, August 25th in the boardroom of the administration complex. The meeting will begin at 6 o'clock p.m. All schools and offices will be closed in observance of Labor Day on Monday, September 1st, 2014. And finally, the September board meeting will be held here in the boardroom on Monday, September 8th at 6 o'clock p.m. Madam Chair, board members, and citizens of Clayton County, this now concludes our announcements for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. In executive session, the board did discuss the issue with Utopian Academy. I think it's fair to say that just about every member of the board learned some important things about this issue. And so we have agreed as a board to the following statement, and I'm going to ask Clem Doyle, our legal counsel, to share that statement with you, and it has as much specifics as it can with the situation that we find ourselves in. So, Mr. Doyle.
The board has authorized its attorneys to proceed with negotiations with the tenant, the Riverdale Downtown Development Authority, regarding the lease. An offer will be made to the tenant that will provide for the students of Utopian Academy to attend the school at the property as soon as possible if the offer is accepted. And
Mr. Doyle.
And Madam Chair, there are certain realities that are going along with this issue. There's several government and nonprofit entities involved, and I think for clarification I need to add that there's an issue that many of us learned about recently with the certificate of inspection process. So I just need to mention that the school board has no involvement with whether the city of Riverdale issues the certificates of inspection that Utopian Academy needs to acquire before its students are permitted by the city to enter into those premises. So we understand that the school is working with the city on that, and certainly have no plans to block that process, and we hope that process turns out well for all those involved. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So, Mr. Doyle, is it fair to say that our superintendent will be in contact with officials from the school as soon as developments and agreements are reached?
Yes, absolutely, and the goal is tomorrow as soon as possible, but I'll have to say right around by early afternoon, we hope for a letter to be going out, and we will get that to the interested parties. The letter, of course, will be from the school district to the Riverdale Downtown Development Authority, but we'd be happy to copy others on that, as I'm sure everyone will want to see the information contained therein.
So we have no control over when the students may begin school.
As soon as possible would be the aim, and personally I can say the hope would be that the offer, which we think will be eminently reasonable, will be accepted rapidly so that it can happen in a matter of very, very short amount of time, as short as possible.
So our superintendent will communicate with school officials, and parents, school officials will communicate with you as soon as we can get through all this, okay? Thank you. Thank you a bunch. Okay. Board members, it's time to approve the minutes. I will tell you that these are the minutes for the board work session on June the 23rd, the special call board meeting on July the 10th, and the board meeting on July the 28th. I will tell you that there was an error on the board work session on July the 23rd. Inadvertently, the vote of one board member was left off the listing, but it did not affect the outcome of the vote at all, and that has been corrected. If you'd like to ask Ms., or just go back and look at that, you'll see that there is a slight difference, but it's just one person whose vote didn't get recorded by e-board. So are there other corrections or additions? Any corrections or additions to the minutes as they were written for you? Anybody find anything as you read through them? Then the minutes are approved as they have been written. We are ready for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, and community. Saturday, more than 3,000 students, adults, and others attended our first ever Clayton Proud Back to School celebration. The main entrance and the gymnasium to Drew High School was filled with the exchange of information, materials, and samples from more than 50 exhibitors. I'd like to stress that this was a collaborative effort involving all departments of the district, and I thank everyone for their time and effort in making this event a success, and planning for our next celebration begins very soon. And special thanks to Vicki Gavales for spearheading that for us. I'd also like to extend my appreciation to Clayton County Solicitor General Tasha Mosley and her staff and associated organizations for donating more than $18,000 in school supplies. The majority of the supplies will be distributed by our schools to students who need this support. This is an outstanding example of how our community supports our students and our schools. This Thursday, roughly 50,000 children will report for the first day of school, as we have anticipated, and we approach the opening of school. I must say that I have been impressed by the commitment of our administrative leadership and by the dedication of our staff to build upon the gains in student academic achievement that we realized last year. All of our employees realize that we cannot settle for simply being a good school district when our goal is to be the greatest in the state. We're fully aware that our work becomes more difficult as we strive to move our students to achieve more academic gains. And speaking for the approximately 7,000 employees of Clayton County Public Schools system, this is a challenge that we willingly accept. Our opening of school activities includes scholar athletes who are beginning to practice for the fall sports season. Rest assured that our coaches and assistants have been fully informed of the district's protocol as it pertains to heat humidity. Our protocol is in full compliance with state guidelines. The level of practice will be determined by weather conditions, which will be monitored continually throughout each day's session. This Saturday, August 9th, the Mundy's Mill High School Air Force ROTC unit has been invited to participate in the promotion ceremony for Major General Stacy Harris. Major General will become only the second African-American female to be awarded the rank of Major General and becomes the highest ranking African-American female officer in the United States Air Force. In addition to being in attendance, 2 of the Mundy's Mill cadets will have the honor of pinning on her second stars. The ceremony will be held at Dobbins Air Reserve Base in Marietta, beginning at 12:30. That is a high honor for our students. We salute members of the North Clayton Middle School football team, their parents, guardians, and coaches, especially Kevin Blackshear for making a difference off the field. The team has been engaged in a series of community outreach activities this summer, including a cleanup project on neighborhood streets, and we want to thank all of them for the job well done. Congratulations to Forest Park High School rising senior Bria Matthews for earning second team All-American honors from the USA Track and Field Federation as a horizontal jumper. This designation includes the long jump and triple jump events. Bria was one of only 6 Georgians to be named to this prestigious team. Matthews, who also competes for the Lady Panthers basketball team, finished second in the 2014 state track meet. She has recorded a jump of nearly 42 feet earlier this month to claim the number 3 spot in the nation. That is great. Congratulations. In the nation. And finally, football players Preston Williams and Montrell Cudis, both members of the Lovejoy High School squad, were invited and attended the prestigious ESPN Nike football camp called The Opening, which took place in early July at Nike headquarters in Oregon. The Opening is an elite invitation-only camp that brings the nation's top players together to compete in skills and challenges. We salute these outstanding scholar athletes. Congratulations to all of you. And Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Board, you have before you the consent agenda, which includes the purchasing report.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I have my light on. I have a question.
I'm sorry, I didn't
please.
see it, Ms. Gorey.
Okay. I am looking forward to the first day of school and everything. So glad that we have everything cleared up this evening as far as we're concerned with Utopian. But I have a question to the superintendent, since you did mention, more academic gains. In our board packet, and maybe this was discussed, I wasn't present on last Monday regarding this planning and preparation. I believe you had a teaching and learning empowerment conference. I'm not sure if this was mentioned at the last board meeting, but as a member of the Board of Education. I'm very impressed with what I see in here, but the only thing is I'm just wondering why the board members were not invited to this. If we are supposed to be in charge of student achievement or setting goals for the district, I think it just really would be nice if we could have been involved in this. I've been on the board since 2008. Prior to my coming on the board members were always invited to the retreat at the superintendent, at least with the staff, at least to meet them or whatever. We've had, this is the second administration, I have never been invited to the retreat, and I would really like for the superintendent, since you're now permanent and you have a full staff, to please ask that you please include the board, because we're supposed to make decisions about what happens in the school district, and for me to just get this information in the mail after the event really doesn't sit well with me. And we have new administrators. I think I asked this last year. We have new board members, and I'm not even sure that the board members even know all of the administrative staff that we have throughout the district. If we could just have some type of a reception or something so that we would understand what it is, you know, what the so-called mission or goal of the district is, it would really help us, because I'm really tired of saying, you know, I don't know, or I'm not aware, or this, that, and the other.
Yes, ma'am, duly noted.
Ms. Gorey, I will just add that I did question, we did have presentations at the last board meeting on that conference, and in the executive summary, as I'm sure you've read, it said that it would be made available, and so I did ask at that time that it would be made available to the board, and we'd learn how they're going to post it and that kind of stuff. So all is not lost for that one. I guess is what I'm trying to say, Ms. Gorey. We'll still have access to that information. Okay. Board members, we're going to the consent agenda, which includes the purchasing report, the financial report, the SPLOST 4 revenue report, personnel changes report, and SPLOST construction update. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, please. Ms. Baker.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the consent agenda, please.
And Dr. Anderson.
I second that motion, Madam Chair.
And board members, if you would vote your pleasure. There are 8 votes in favor and 1 abstention. Ms. Gorey?
I wasn't present, so I'm just going to abstain.
Okay, thank you. Under the business agenda, the first thing for consideration is the Policy Series C, General School Administration. I need a motion to approve the updates in the C policies. Dr. Anderson?
Madam Chair, I make the motion that we approve the updates in the C policy.
Ms. Baker?
I second.
And Ms. Gorey, are you voting or?
No, I would like to discuss that.
Okay, hang on just a second. Let me clear my board, Ms. Gorey, real quick. Okay, now go ahead and make a comment.
All right, number one, I sent an email to the superintendent about that proposed policy. The policy, you are taking out, there is a statement in the policy that says that the staff reports to the, wait a minute, let me just read what it says. I sent this information to Ms. Jackson, and you told me that that did seem logical. You were going to get back to me on it, but yet I come today. There's a statement in here that says that lines of direct authority shall be shown on the district organizational chart and outlined in individual job descriptions. It says each administrative employee will be responsible to the board through the superintendent. If we are saying that that statement needs to remain in there, because the rest of the school district is responsible to the board through the superintendent, because our only employee is the superintendent, and they are accountable to her. So that statement should not be deleted. I sent you an email. I told you that I've researched other policies from other school districts, and they all say that. And that has always been the policy. If you're saying that, if you're going to delete that and we're going to accept that, then in essence what we're saying is that the only person that is responsible to us is the superintendent, and that can't be the case. Because we are the individuals tonight, when we vote in these people that are going to be administrators at this school, we are going to give our approval. So they have to be indirectly, that's their indirect way of being responsible to us.
Ms. Corey, I think that that discussion was generated by Mr. Doyle, and his office, so I'm going to let him speak to that.
Well, no one bothered, you know, like I said, I sent email and a response. If you, whatever conversation you had, I should have gotten a response
No, ma'am,
back.
we didn't have a conversation. I asked, when I saw your concern, I asked Mr. Doyle, and he said the recommendation came from his office, so I'd like for him to speak to it.
That's correct, Madam Chair, and I can't say that we had strong feelings about it, but we did flag that sentence as a potential concern. It could be read the way Ms. Goree described it, which is that everyone is hired and terminated by the school board on an annual basis for those employees having annual contracts. But I think it could also be read, particularly given some of the issues with the governance that the board has worked with over years, even preceding this board. It could be construed as implying that the administrative employees are indirectly reporting to the board, which is not, I think, the way that it should be. So, like I said, I don't have strong feelings, but that's the explanation for why we put that sentence into play.
Ms. Goree, would you like to make a motion that not be deleted?
Well, that was, I sent that information. Yeah, that would be my motion, but my question is that I've read other policies, Atlanta Public Schools, I've looked through Fulton's. That is a general rule of thumb, and what bothers me is that we always go back to governance. I don't think anybody on this board that I know of has, that we are asking anybody to report to us. We make that through the superintendent. She's made it clear. That's now, you know, we now have a deputy superintendent. You know, we may get a protocol as far as to whom we can speak to, but even we can't make Ms. Hubbard responsible to us. So yes, I will make a motion that that statement remain in the policy.
And would you read that statement one more time, just for everybody, because we're not looking at
I move that the statement that is currently in policy CD remain, that each administrative employee be responsible to the board through the superintendent.
And Madam Chair, just for clarification, I don't think this, kind of agree with Ms. Goree, I don't think it's going to make a difference whether this is in or out, if that makes
Well,
any
you
sense.
know what? If it doesn't make a difference, then why are you taking it out? It's been the policy.
Like I said, it can be reviewed, it can be looked at in two different ways, and we thought, well, if it's ambiguous, we should probably just rely on the fact that, you know, good governance. I understand the statement is in other policies, but I don't know. Sometimes it is also misinterpreted in other districts, so that's why we were going on our history.
Right. And I think we did have a discussion about it, Clem and I, Mr. Doyle and I, and it was brought to our attention then that, you know, if you were to bring it up and the board decide, that would be the pleasure of the board.
Okay, board, remember, this is an amendment to the original motion to approve the policies. Mr. Bivens, are you going to second that amendment? Okay, Mr. Bivens seconds the motion. So what we're going to vote on is the amendment to the original motion, okay? So what you're voting on is whether the motion is to leave that statement in the C policies, okay? So if you are in favor of leaving the amendment, the statement in the C policies, you would vote with your green, and if you are opposed, if you want to leave it like it has been recommended, then you would vote in the red, okay? So everybody vote. The amendment fails for a lack of a majority. And so now, if I can clear my screen, we are going to go back and we're going to vote on the motion as originally proposed. So now we're voting on approval of the changes in the C policies as they were proposed. So if you would again vote your pleasure, green means that you agree and red means that you do not. And again, the motion does pass this time with a majority of 5 votes and 4 in opposition. Okay. Next thing we have to address is approval of the student tribunal panel members. We did look at those and discuss those at the meeting, at the work session. So I need a motion to approve the student tribunal panel members. Ms. Baker.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the student tribunal panel members as listed.
Dr. Anderson.
I second the motion, Madam Chair.
And board members, if you would vote Oh, excuse me, Ms. Gorey, did you have a comment?
I do.
Okay.
I'm going to voice the same comment that I vote every single year, that the students need an advocate. I have asked this over and over again. Ms. Jackson, you told me that you would consider it. I still haven't seen any consideration. And I think that they need an advocate, because everybody that's on the tribunal are all administrators that deal with discipline. And to me, that's not anybody that has the students' interests at heart.
Ms. Baker?
Madam Chair, just for clarification, there's a whole list of psychologists on that list also.
Social. Okay, calling for the vote. If you are in favor, the motion is for the approval of the Student Tribunal panel members, so if you would vote at this time. And the motion passes 5 votes in favor and 4 in opposition. The next item on our business agenda is the Perkins 4 Local Plan for Improving CTAE for 2014. We must approve this plan, and I need a motion for its approval. Dr. Anderson.
Madam Chair, I make the motion that we approve the plan for the Perkins 4 Local Plan for Improving CTA for 2015.
And Ms. Burrows?
I second the motion.
And board members, if you vote your pleasure. It is unanimous. Thank you so much. We do have other recommendations from executive session, and I'll ask the superintendent to present those recommendations.
Thank you. The first recommendation is for the principal of Church Street Elementary, and it is Samuel West.
Need a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation. Ms. Gorey.
I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation for Mr. West to be the principal of Church Street Elementary School.
And Mr. Bivens.
I second that.
And board members, if you'd vote your pleasure. And the motion passes with 7 votes in favor and 2 in opposition.
Mr. West? Yes, he is. There he is. Thank you. Principal of Oliver Elementary School, we recommend for your approval, Mael Matthews.
Ms. Corey.
I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation of Ms. Matthews as the principal of Oliver Elementary School.
And Ms. Baker.
I second it.
Board members, if you'd vote your pleasure. And the motion passes with 7 board members in favor.
Thank you, and she is here. She is standing. The next is the principal for Smith Elementary, Ms. Shabrina Lockhart.
Need a motion to approve Mr. Bivens.
So moved, Madam.
And Dr. Anderson.
I second the motion, Madam Chair.
And board members, if you would vote your pleasure. The motion passes with 6 in favor. There's 1 abstention and 2 in opposition.
And it's Dr. Lockhart. I think I saw her. Yes, she's there. The next is Assistant Principal for Lovejoy Middle School, Ms. Jaretha Lewis.
I'll take this privilege of recommending that we approve the superintendent's recommendation of Jaretha Lewis as the assistant principal for Lovejoy Middle School. Ms. Baker.
I second.
Board members, if you would vote your pleasure. And the motion passes with 7 in favor and 2 in opposition.
There she is. And the last one for this evening is Assistant Principal for Fountain Elementary, Dr. Roxanne Wells.
Ms. Johnson. You agree with the superintendent. Good job. And Mr. Bivens.
I'll second it.
All right, board members, if you would vote. And the motion approves with 7 votes in favor and 1 in opposition. Board members, it appears to me that we have...
Is she?
Madam
Oh,
Chair.
sure.
Oh,
There she is.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
I did abstain on the vote for Smith Elementary School, and
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was not able to state a reason. And please, Ms. Lockhart, I know her from way back, is not, my vote is not a no. I'm abstaining because I think we had a little discussion about the process, and since I need some further clarification, and when I see the clarification, that was my reason for abstaining. I just wanted to let her know, you know, I love her and everything, but it's not a no vote, but I want to let you know. Okay.
Board members, it appears that we have completed all the business on our approved agenda, so I declare this meeting adjourned.